Hey fellers, it's Matt with BleepinJeep.interwebs, and today I'm going to show you how to install the rear quarter panel from JcrOffroad.com. So check out their products like this and other armor at JcrOffroad.com. Check out the website BleepinJeep.com for all your best off-road videos and t-shirts and stickers and cool things like that. Do subscribe to our YouTube channels and check out our Facebook pages and leave your comments below. Let's get started on installing this thing. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is start taking things apart. We're going to need to take off the fender flares, the lights, and the inside plastic pieces of the quarter panels. I like to start off with the easy stuff first, so a 10mm socket, and we'll take the lights off. Now if you don't have the integrated lights in your quarter panel, and it just comes straight back like this, you probably don't need to take off the lights. But you might want to go ahead just so you don't break one in the process. Now, there's one little bolt under here that is always a booger, but the good thing is you only need to back it off just a little bit to be able to pull it up. And in this case, I can just pull it right up off of there without even touching it. If you look, you'll see that the light actually has a divot there, and you don't need to actually take the bolt all the way out. Alright, but before I remove each one of these light bulbs, I'm going to take a piece of tape and wrap around each wire and label these for future reference. I don't want to take all these out and then forget where they came from. Alright, so the top light here is your running light and your brake. And the second one, there's two lights actually, and that is running lights. And then this third space down here is your turn signal. And the bottom one is the reverse. So you've got your running light and your brake light in one, then you've got two running lights, then you've got your turn signal, and then you've got your reverse. Now I can go ahead and take all these out. And of course I'll do the same thing on the right side. Alright, next up here you'll need to remove the interior plastic quarter paneling, and to do that you can just use a screwdriver. On the driver's side though, you'll also need to remove the tire carrier. And to do that, you can just use a 10mm socket. Alright, once you get all the screws removed, you can just peel this plastic back. Now we don't need to remove the seat belt, we'll just fold it up out of the way over here. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Alright, next we're going to remove the fender flares. There's a bunch of 10mm nuts on the back side here to take that off. Now you can do that by hand, but if you have power tools, it's going to be a lot faster. Alright, so I counted 6 10mm bolts on the back here, but there's also 2 on the sides that are 8mm. Alright, so now your fender flares should just pull right off. And then we can move over to the other side. Alright, make sure to keep your hardware so you can put everything back together. And now might be a good time to paint these if yours need it. Alright, now we're ready to move on to the good stuff. As you can see over here on the driver's side, there's a lot of things in the way. And for that reason, we're going to do the demo on the passenger side just so that you guys can see what's going on a little better. But when you're working on the driver's side, just keep in mind that you can take off this bracket. It just unbolts. There's 4 bolts there, and that will come out and give you a little bit more room. And other than that, it's going to be a little bit tighter, but you can still accomplish everything you need to. But just so you guys can see better, we're going to move over to that side. Also, if you're fond of your paint job, I would recommend outlining the whole area in masking tape like this. The reason being that you're going to be moving a slab of metal back and forth, and you're going to scratch up your paint if you don't do this. So I'm just going to do this for safety precaution. Alright, so this is where it would come in handy to have a second set of hands. But what I'm going to do is place this on and put the bolt in the top of the light bracket back here just to keep it in place. I've also got a little clamp over here just to keep it from sliding off. Alright, so I've got that bolt holding it in the back. Now I'm just going to line it up here in the front. Alright, so you can kind of see from the bend right there where exactly that's supposed to line up. Then I'm going to take my drill and drill a hole. Now I use the bolts that came with the kit and just put it right through there. Now I've got, whoa, stay. Alright, somehow I've got to get this to stay while I go around to the back side. Can you hold that? Thanks for your help, jerk. Alright, now since this is a little bit high right here, I'm going to take this bolt out and then I will get it in the perfect position once again and drill another hole. Oh, sure I'm glad I used that tape, otherwise half my paint would be gone already. Alright, I've got that lined up. I think that, does that look right to you? That looks pretty good to me. Alright, now I can handle this one by myself. By the way, this is a 5/32 Allen on the front here and a 7/16 nut on the back. Alright, so once you get everything perfect the way you want it, go ahead and drill the rest of the holes. Now for the drill bit I'm using slightly larger than 1/4 inch, but I think a 1/4 inch would work just as well. Alright, now if that's all you're doing, you're done. You can take it off and paint it. But JCR also makes these lower quarter panels, and we are going to install that as well. So since I'm going to do that, what I want to do is put the bolts in these bottoms and tighten them up, because that's going to suck this in just a little bit more and we'll get a better fit. Now it's not so much of a problem on this side because we have a lot of room, but on the driver's side, if you can't reach the nuts on the back, what you can do is take a little piece of tape, stick it in your wrench there, and that'll hold the nut on so you can get it in a little bit tighter places. Alright, so as you tighten those bottom bolts here, it's going to suck that right into the body. Alright, so we've got those bottom ones tight and it's sucked down. Now we can start working on the bottom quarter panels. Now, no matter what kind of things you got going on with the junk in your trunk here, JCR makes different kinds of these to match. So whatever you've got going on, for this one in particular, I've got the JCR rear bumper here, and this is uncut and unfolded, and so that's what this one is for, is to match up exactly with that rear bumper. But the first thing that I need to do is take care of this little plastic piece, and that is glued on there. So I think I will use my heat gun. I'll go grab that. Once you get it hot, just use a pry bar to start it up like this, and then you use your heat gun, just let it peel back. And if you don't have a heat gun, just wait until summer. No, just kidding. You don't really have to have a heat gun. You can just pull that thing off if you really wanted to. Alright, now I'm not really sure whether that thing should be right there or up here, but to help me figure that out, I'm going to put this back on for just a second here. And I'm going to check out where that ends up. I'm just going to make a reference line here. So if it's not past that point, I'll be able to see the fender. Alright, so we know the fender flare comes up to that line there. And it looks like this is bent just to match that. So I will install it right up against that line. Right about there. Alright, now I need to get a drill bit and drill some more holes. To hold that in place while I mark my holes, I'll have my friend Jack help me out here. And drill a hole over here and work my way back. Then I'll come back and open it up to 3/8. Alright, so these are the bolts that came with this one. And I'll just put that in there to hold it in place. Once again, Can you hold that for me? Alright, so now I'll use the jack again to hold that up while I drill the rest of the holes. Also, when you're drilling these holes, keep in mind that you want to drill the hole right there instead of out here. These bolts are going to pull these in a little bit, so you want to make sure that you drill the hole when that is in. Otherwise, it's going to be about 1/4 of an inch off. Alright, now once you've got everything on there and test fitted and it's looking good, you want to take your fender flares and put them back on. And just check for clearances. Everything looks pretty good here, but if you want to make it a really tight fit, for instance, these bolts heads are right underneath the fender flare. I'll need to make a little knot for that. And right over here, because the quarter panel is a little bit thicker, you're going to have a small gap right there between your fender flare and the body of the Cherokee. If you really wanted to take care of that, you could notch this out just a little bit and then it would fit right up tight against there. I don't know if I'm going to worry about that so much, but if you're really anal about it, you could take care of that right here. And as another option, instead of cutting this part out, you could add some over here. For that, I would probably recommend some caulk after you get everything put together, maybe some black caulk just to fill in that little gap. And it's not very much of a gap. I think just a little bit of caulk would do it. Also, if you know how to weld, I think it might be a neat idea to weld your uppers to your lowers. I don't see any reason why you couldn't do that and still be able to install them or bolt them on. If you're going to do that, you want to tack weld it right now, then take it off and slowly weld it across. That way it doesn't deform too much. Alright guys, so the last step is to unbolt everything and paint it. I don't think you need instructions on how to unbolt it, and if you need tips on painting, you can find that on JCR's website. The only other thing that you'll want to do is to make sure to paint the holes that you drilled in your Jeep. So now we're going to fast forward to the finished product.
Yes! Yes!
Woohoo! That was fun! Thanks fellas for watching. Don't forget to find this armor and more at JcrOffroad.com, and do check out the website BleepinJeep.com for all the best off-road videos on YouTube, none of the boring stuff. We've got hats and t-shirts, muffler bearings, flux capacitors, and stickers. So check it out, BleepinJeep.com. Do subscribe to both of our Facebook pages and YouTube channels as well, and leave your comments below as always. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.